You are tuned into the Dr. Tina Show with Dr. Tina Moore. For more, visit drtyna.com. On this episode of the Dr. Tina Show, I want to wish you a very happy new year, a very happy 2025. And we are going to do a little bit of goal setting and reflection of the past year on this quick and dirty. So let's jump in. Hey, real quick, I wanted to make sure that I shared this with you. I have got a free challenge coming up here in the early part of January. As of the airing of this episode, we should have either just gotten started or will be getting started. It is a free 21-day jumpstart. It's called the Strength and Resilience Challenge. And I want to make sure that you guys join me. It's free. This is for anyone of any age. And what we're going to be covering over 21 days is what are your basic strength goals? Because you guys need to know what they are so that you have goals for 2025 and you have points that you want to meet, right? We're much better off when we're goal oriented than if we're just like arbitrarily chasing some idea of things. The next piece of it is going to be that we make sure to teach you the basics of what you need to know about your metabolic health. So this is going to be value packed. I'm going to be sending you guys an email every single day. This is for your friends, your family, obviously yourself, young people, older people. I want to make sure that there's something in there for everyone. So go ahead and head over to drtyna.com/strength and resilience. That's drtyna.com/strength and resilience. The link will be in the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, the link will be in the description below. Go ahead and click it. Put in your name and email. You'll be on the list for when this starts, or if it's already started by the time this airs, you'll get started right at the beginning. So I want to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to have really tangible strength goals and metabolic health goals for 2025, because I know that many of us have New Year's resolutions, but unfortunately, most of those go by the wayside within the first few weeks of January. So I want to make sure that we do something real and helpful and valuable so that we can move the needle in 2025. I hope you'll join us. drtyna.com/strength and resilience. All right. So every year I go through the same mental exercise, and sometimes I write it down and sometimes I don't, but I'm going to encourage you to pull out a piece of paper and a pen and write this down. You can type it if you want, but we have good data to show that when you write something down, your brain processes it in a whole different way. So pull out a new journal. It's a new year, new journal. I love going to buy journals. You can even buy cool composition books, like the cool ones that we bought and used when we were kids in school. That's a great journal. They're like 50 cents or $1. Just get yourself something, make it yours, and just use it as a place to jot down thoughts. And we're going to start with this exercise. So one of the things that I do is I try to take stock of the last year of what everything I just went through. And I will say that this past year was crazy and was a massive year of growth for me. I basically went on tour. I went on a podcast tour and I met so many cool new people, and I was introduced to so many new ideas and so many people. I had so many great guests on my podcast. It was just a big year of like friends. I don't know how else to put it. I just made a lot of friends this year. And that was great because the last couple of years prior to that were very lonely because I was fighting the machine and I was not making a lot of friends. I was, in fact, making a lot of enemies. So lots of good friends, lots of good memories. Retired my husband, brought him with me everywhere. He's my bodyguard. Honestly, I received enough death threats over the past few years, that I take him with me and I use him as a very good looking bag boy. He makes sure I have bubbly water and coffee and my bags are handled, and it's great. I just feel a lot safer. I try to give myself a pat on the back for all of the things that I accomplished this year. I make a short list and, top of mind, I paid off my student loans this year, you guys. It's crazy. I was roughly $500,000 in debt when I got out of school. And I paid it all off finally. It's taken me a long time. I went after that chunk of debt this year like it was my job and my life depended on it, because I think that student loans are such an epic and utter scam. The way that they are handled, the way that interest rates are handled on them, they basically throw you into indentured servitude forever. So I decided to get out of indentured servitude and I did it. So bravo to me, a little pat on the back. I finally got my hormones dialed in. I've talked about this on other episodes, but I finally got it handled. So I feel really good. And that allowed me to get on top of my pain. I'm going to do a whole episode about it, but allowed me to get on top of my pain and my tissues from tearing. I had a disc herniation this year in the middle of the year. I was days away from getting on a plane to fly to London to be on Diary of a CEO, and huge opportunity. Really excited for a lot of reasons. Huge fan of that show. Huge fan of Steven's. I believe what he's doing in the world is such important work. Him and his team, young people doing incredible work. Like, give me hope in humanity again. And I was invited to be on, and I was so honored and so excited. And a mere days before, I herniated a lumbar disc, actually upper lumbar. Pretty bad place to get a disc injury, like really dangerous, actually. It can have an impact on other parts of your body. Anyway, I did a whole episode about it, and I got myself on that plane and I got to London. And I'd never been to London, you guys. I wanted to go my whole life, and I finally got to London. I got to bring my husband, who really hasn't traveled very much. He's pretty much been on this farm his whole life. So he was like a kid in a candy store, just wandering around, seeing the sights with me. And we had such a lovely time. So thank you, Stephen, for that opportunity. Thank you for having me on your show. And thank you for allowing me to get that trip into London. I know he films in LA sometimes, and I was so glad it was in London, because I just wouldn't have gotten up off my butt and done it. So big hurrah there. And I was able after that to finally get my estrogen dialed in. So I quit tearing my tissues, because it was just one thing after another for years and years and years. It was just like crippling, bone splitting, spinal pain, and then getting hit with injury after injury. And granted, GLP-1s have helped significantly, but it wasn't quite all that I needed. And that piece of estrogen was huge. I'll do a podcast about it. So those are some big wins. I had a very successful year, just in generalities. I grew my team. I was able to have a couple opportunities happen that I had been working towards, like paying off my student loans. I mean, I finally just felt like I got on top of things, and was able to like do some purging of stuff, just getting stuff out of my life, like physical and mental. And I felt like this was a big year. It was very busy. I don't remember much of it, to be honest with you, because I was always on a plane and I was always running around, but I've made some really powerful connections. Some of my team members have become dear friends, and I am so grateful to them for so much. You know who you are. And I love you all. You all have helped me so much. Everybody who helped me get this year in order and get me where I'm going. Thank you to Mark Hyman for putting me on your podcast back in April about this GLP-1 microdosing conversation, because that's really what, set the whole thing afire. So just a big time and very exciting. And I try to take stock. So I encourage you to sit down and do the same. I just shared some of my wins with you, but I would love to hear from you below. If you're on YouTube, chime in on the comments below and let me know what some of your big wins were, if you feel like sharing, because you have to express your wins. That's how we get into the flow state, right? Express your wins. I then look back and I ask myself a couple pinnacle questions. One, I asked myself, is my health better or worse than it was a year ago? And I would say in some ways it's a little worse because of all the travel. So I kind of got a little out of sync with my workouts and with the regularity of my eating and, the controlled environment that I eat in because I cook most of my meals at home. So a lot of eating out this year, which I'm not a fan of. And that really hasn't done great things for me overall, but didn't kill me, like in years past, eating out used to be really, really hard on me because I just wasn't as vital. I couldn't handle it. So I could do a better job of that, less of that. And then also, less alcohol, because alcohol comes with that. And just here and there, it starts to add up. It's not a good look. And whatever, just eating out, you end up with seed oils and sauces and things that you don't normally consume. And so just getting back to a more controlled environment with my eating, not to be super stringent, because part of the joy in life is going out and being with friends and enjoying yourself and letting loose. But when you travel so much, you end up doing a lot of that. And that's not as, advantageous to me overall. So taking stock of that, but I have improved my health in many ways. I survived all the travel really well. Did not, knock on wood, did not get sick, did not get, come down with anything. Usually I'll get a bad case of pneumonia with all that kind of travel, at that level. So really have done a great job there. My go immune system, pat on the back. Sleep has been good. Sleep is still dialed in. All the things that I used to travel a lot for work, and I used to be plagued with a lot of little things here and there that were not great. And none of that crept up this year. So having my husband help me has been huge. Feeling safe, feeling secure in the travel with him around. And then just making sure that I, 80-20 rule, like 80% of the time staying on target with my nutrition and my movement. So in many ways, I actually think my health has leveled up, and I feel like my stress has been mitigated pretty well. I had a few big whomps this year, stressors, and, being deplatformed was huge. Having some, traditional media come out and basically diss me. That was not great, but, nobody thankfully has come for me, if you will. And for some reason, I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. After 2020 through 2022, it was just a constant, so I have a little PTSD from that. So I'm always a little like, ooh, I hear my name in circles and I'm like, ooh, but I'm just trying to share my truth as I know it, you guys, and share as much of my clinical experience and my research and my brain as I can. And I know I don't always get it right, but I sure do try hard to get it as close to reasonable and realistic and truthful as possible based on data that I'm constantly searching for and looking up. So, I try not to sensationalize crap. I never publicly throw somebody else under the bus to get more likes or more growth. I think that's a big strategy that we see a lot lately, and it's so gross. I'm not trying to bamboozle you. I'm not going in grocery stores and trying to fearmonger your food. Like I really am just trying to keep it straight and clean. And that's not always sexy or popular. So I'm really grateful to all of you who've come on board this year, because apparently people do want to hear common sense. And that makes me proud, because that's really all I've been trying to do all these years. I guess I just had to hit 50 for it to stick. So yeah, and then I also asked myself the question, am I happier than I was a year ago? And I don't think I am, honestly. I prefer a quiet life, and I prefer my, a quiet life on my farm with my dogs. And that has not been this year. So that said, while I've enjoyed my time sort of out there, I am going to focus on 2025 on how to bring it back in, just kind of bring my energy back in a little bit more for me, for my inner circle, and nurture that a bit more, because that's where I think my happiness really lies, is in the quiet. I had no idea that was the case until I got older, but here we are. All right. So I think some good things to consider is review your achievements and milestones, review your setbacks, review the big stressors. And was there anything you could do about it? If it happens again, is there something you could do differently? Assess your health. Is it better or worse? Assess your happiness. Is it better or worse? Assess any lessons learned along the way. I did not need to freak out to the level that I did when my Instagram went down. And I think I handled it actually really well, all things considered. But there were a few moments where I let myself drop into despair and oh no, what am I going to do? And it disrupted my sleep significantly. I will say that. But when you have cortisol pumping through you like that, go look at the videos of me during that time. That was in September. My face just went burp, like just massive swelling from cortisol. And eating the carbs and drinking the wine because you're so stressed out, and I just swelled up, and it was awful. So I think I could have handled that better. But I will say I did not totally lose it. And I really thought that I might, if that were to happen. Not that I put all my merit on my Instagram, but for those who are listening who are thinking, well, that's ridiculous. You don't understand how many years it takes to grow your account to the size, and what I went through. The amount of shadow banning that I've endured, I've been deplatformed now 3 times. So it's just been a lot, and I keep coming back, right? And I keep coming back stronger. And that takes a tremendous amount of tenacity and grit that I'm tired enough. I don't think I don't want to fight for that again. I'm just trying to play it cool and easy and get through. I have a lot of opinions about things, and I have a lot of data and facts about things that I just, we don't need to talk about it. Not my fight anymore. Not my monkeys, not my circus. So, and then measure your progress. Like, how far have you come? And look at different areas. Look at your fitness. Look at your relationships. Look at your your nutrition in general. I don't mean like, was I perfect with what I ate? I just mean in general, like, are you making good choices? Do you feel like you've progressed? Have you regressed? Are you kind of pushing the boundaries too much? Are you being pretty good and diligent about the foods you're choosing to put in your mouth, the way you choose to nourish your soul? I could have made it to church a whole lot more this year. I feel pretty bad about that. Although I do have a personal relationship with God, I need to find a community where I can, you know, enjoy that as well. So little things like that. Please celebrate your wins and achievements. Make it a list of at least 5 of wins and achievements. There's no judgment on this. It's not, oh, I did great, but I could have done better. No, it's just a win, like straight up win. It could be a financial win. It could be something subtle. I mean, I remember as an example, when I was in bankruptcy, completely poor, single mom, just started my practice, stressed out of my mind, literally hadn't slept in 9 months. Like I had not slept in 9 months because of stress. So scared, so broke, gone through a divorce, just broken. I was just a mess. And my daughter wanted this little Nintendo Flip, or I don't know, it was like those little ones that were like little makeup compacts almost. They were so small and they had a little pen. She really, I mean, this was years ago. She really wanted one. She was a child. She's 20 something now. So it was a long time ago. And it was $174. And I saved and saved and saved. And I bought her that thing. I got it for her. And I was so broke, you guys. And I bought her this little Nintendo thing. And I was so proud of myself, which I know sounds silly, but it wasn't about the Nintendo. It was about like me being able to handle something that really wasn't a tremendous amount of money. But at the time it was, make or break kind of money for me. So little, any win. Did you rekindle a relationship with somebody? I was able to rekindle a relationship with my father that had been broken in 2016. And, we came around this year and just, I apologized to a friend from years ago of something I had done that I was like, I really feel like shit about that. I was kind of out of my mind when I said and did those things. And she was like, it's okay. I still love you. So just, were you the better person in situations? Also, were there places where you're not proud of how you behaved? Did you say something you didn't mean? Did you say something you can't take back? Did you lose your temper too often? If so, take account of that. If you're losing your temper or you're feeling out of sorts, especially you ladies that are in my age cohort that are going through menopause, if you're really starting to feel yourself become temperamental, get your hormones checked. I know you don't want to feel that way. And I know it's easy to have really short tolerance bands and start to sort of melt down and lose your shit with the people you love or the people around you. And I know it's not you. I know it wasn't me. That's your hormones. So, these are things that we can use to actually better our health and better our lives and better our relationships. What are some lessons from some of the challenges that you had? So I use the example of my Instagram being taken down. What are some of the lessons that you can take from that? How could you do that differently moving forward? Not better, just different. How could you do it different to serve your soul and your body and your health and your well-being better? I could have just not given as much of a shit. Like, I mean, it's as simple as that. So just really learning to sort of dial in that Jedi superpower of calm. It's easier as you get older. I promise. If you're younger and you're listening to this, I was a basket case in my 20s. It really takes time and maturity, but you start to learn to pick your battles and you start to learn what is allowed to set off your cortisol and what isn't. And some people are really addicted to that pump, that cortisol and adrenaline pump. I am not so much anymore. And so I have to pick my battles carefully and I choose what I engage in. I choose what I even let. I mean, there's people who have issue that come at me and I'm just like, literally don't give a shit about this person at all. I don't care. I'm not going to respond. I'm not even going to have an emotion about it. That's something I wasn't able to do. Oh, here's a big one. I don't look at the comments on my Instagram anymore. I don't look at the comments. Every once in a while, I accidentally slip up and get in there and I'm like, oh, what am I doing? Get out. I don't look at the comments anymore. That was a habit I had to break. It was a habit that was causing me mental anguish. And so I just don't see any of the comments anymore. And I don't see the DMs. I rarely look at DMs either. And that was something I had to break completely because it just was too much on my mental well-being. The horrible things that people say, irritated me or grated at me too much. And sometimes people would say things that I have a very thick skin, but sometimes people would say things that would really get under my skin or trigger me. It all depended on how tired or rested I was or how I was feeling that day. And so I just made an executive decision to leave that up to my team. And you may or may not see me comment, but I don't see any of it. I don't see the comments on YouTube. My team does, and we go through what's important together. I appreciate everything you guys are saying and doing, but just for my mental well-being, I had to break a very bad habit. And I think it was the right thing to do. Take a relationships audit. Look through the relationships that matter. How can you add to them and make them better? Look at the relationships that are causing you anguish. Do you need to keep them around? Must you? There's a lot of people that in 2020 showed their true colors. And I was like, oh, I never actually liked you in the first place. Why am I bothering? Like, why do I care? Why am I bothering to even try to rekindle this relationship or save it? I was just like, oh, I don't really care for this person. There's no need to try to save it, right? So just like be very realistic and dogmatic, and don't be afraid to just walk away from situations that no longer serve you. It's okay. You don't have to save every relationship or friendship. They're not all friendships. You think they are. They're just acquaintances. And sometimes they're business acquaintances that you don't even realize you're in because you under obligation. I went to school with a bunch of people I did not like. And all these years later, they came out and said horrible things about me. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even like you back in school in like 2004, 2005, 2006, like, why am I surprised now that terrible things are coming out of their mouths towards me? So because they didn't like what I was saying about the narrative, or even now, they're just jealous. It's bizarre. So I'm just like, oh, or you don't know them. I'm like, I don't know you. Why do I care? Right. So consider that, because then you can invest the energy that you need to in the good relationships that you have and the powerful relationships you have. Like, don't waste your time on relationships that no longer serve you or never served you in the first place. And then you're over here fretting and it's ruining or impacting negatively relationships that really do matter to you for people you do love. Habits and routines assessment. We don't all need the perfect morning, you guys. These influencer mornings I'm so over it. I get up in the morning and I drink coffee. My routine is so boring. It is a slow morning. It is intentional, and I have earned it. I spent my whole life busting my ass and getting up at the crack of dawn and running out the door with a bazillion things that were stressful on top of me. And now I'm like, oh, I just get up and take my time and drink coffee in front of a red light with my dogs and go for a walk. It's lovely, So are your habits and routines in alignment with your health goals? But don't overcomplicate it. And certainly don't add stress to your plate. We have enough stress already. And then what's your vision for the future? What would you like 2025 to look like? I know what I would like mine to look like, and I will share that with you maybe in a year from now and see if I hit those goals. But at least 3 things. I want you to write down at least 3 things that you would like to accomplish or see happen in your life in 2025. That might be a health goal. It might be, for me in 2024, I just wanted to have durable immunity as I rode through 2024 and all that travel, meaning I wanted to I have a funny immune system, sometimes freaks out on me. I wanted it to not freak out, and it did not freak out. It came up, I came up winning on that one. So big goal for me achieved. And I want more of that in 2025. I want to get back in shape. I have lost a lot of my muscle and some of my strength because of all these injuries. So I'm ready. Like I'm back to being consistent in the gym, and I'm really loving it, and just being honest with myself and pushing myself in a way that is not going to get me into more trouble or more pain. And then, nurturing the relationships that matter most to me and making sure that I take the time to really care for them and honor them, because these are important people, and the people who are not important at all. And the people who are important to me are everything. So if you guys really want to level up your 2025, I have a free challenge for you. So I've got a 21-day challenge. I'm offering it absolutely free, and it's going to help you sort out your strength and resiliency goals. We want to make sure that we're hitting some basic strength goals as we move forward. These are strength goals that every woman, specifically women, this is for, but men, you can join if you want. I will let you know what your strength goals are, but this program is for women specifically. I want to make sure you're hitting your strength goals in 2025. And this might take you all year to hit. It may take you longer, but I want to make sure you know what they are. I want you to make sure that you understand the very basics of your metabolic health and how strength training and some other simple things that you're going to do throughout the year are going to help you dial in your metabolic health. And I want to make sure that you have the most resilient year yet, because They keep coming with the nonsense and we're not having it. We're going to make sure that we are resilient and healthy and metabolically sound so that our bodies will better withstand anything that comes at us. If you guys are interested, I have the link in the show notes. The URL for those listening is www.drtyna.com/strength and resilience. That'll get you to the page. Join there. It's a waitlist page. I will notify you very soon when it starts, and I will make sure that you get first access. It's completely free. I hope you'll join me. This won't be happening after January. So if you're listening now, get in here ASAP. It's drtyna.com/strength and resilience. The link is in the show notes. Make sure that you click it or the description in YouTube. Get yourself in there. Invite your friends, invite your parents, invite your, adult children. This is for everybody at every level. And I want to make sure that as many people get in here and get moving and get active as possible because we've got some work to do. It's going to be action packed. It's going to be very valuable and it's going to set you in the right direction for 2025. So I will see you inside. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the Dr. Tina Show, Quick and Dirty, and we will see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Dr. Tina Show. This is a Wellness Loud production produced by Drake Peterson and mixed by Mike Fry. Theme song is by John the Guild. You can watch the full video version of this podcast inside the Spotify app or on YouTube. As always, you can email the podcast at podcast@drtyna.com. That's DRTYNA. And if you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast app. You can also find all of my offerings on my website at drtyna.com. For more shows by my team, go to wellnessloud.com. See you next time, and thanks for listening. This podcast is for general informational purposes only. It does not constitute the practices of medicine, nursing, or other professional healthcare services, including the giving of medical advice. I am a doctor, but I am not your doctor. No doctor-patient relationship is formed. The use of this information and the materials linked to this podcast is at the user's own risk. The content on this podcast is intended not to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Users should not disregard or delay in obtaining medical advice from any medical condition they have, and they should seek the assistance of their healthcare professionals for any such conditions.